Hi, it's Dorothy Guiney with Scrapbooking Quebec. This week I'm joining the Punched Out Thursday to Die For collaboration. We share ideas every Thursday on what to do with your punches and your dies. I will put links to all the other participants below, so be sure to check out what they're doing this week with their tools. And here's what I'm going to be creating. It's a window page complete with a curtain. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell that by looking at the screen, but that's what it is. And I will be using my punches, dies, and scissors. Now, I used to do this very same page design many years ago with a straight trimmer and scissors. So if you don't have the same tools as me, I'll give you a few ideas on how you can still create this look. And here's what I'm going to be using. It's mostly material from the Maggie Holmes Market Square collection. And I also threw in some wood grain paper. That's from Simple Stories. Here are the tools, and I'll talk more about them throughout the process. And I will list everything I'm using in the description box below. So without further ado, let's get started. And for my foundation page, I'm going to be using that wood grain paper. And I have 3 photos. Now, the number of photos really isn't important. You need one focal point photo. In that case, I've already matted it in white cardstock. I have 2 other photos here, and I'm going to explain later on why the number of photos in addition to the focal point photo really isn't important. And I'm going to show you the papers that I have, again, mostly from the Market Square collection, along with a bit of cardstock. Now, this is a story about a power outage where we had to dig out an old beat-up barbecue that I wanted my husband to throw away last summer, and he didn't. Anyway, he had to dig it out in order for us to eat supper one night when we had no electricity. And that's what this story documents. And you're going to see that the photos are really bad because we had no light. And this is a great technique for bad photos. Onto the window. That's what I'm showing you right now. I'm going to be creating the window right now. I'm using a die from Elizabeth Craft Designs called Windows Overlay. It's part of her Planner Essential series. It's number 36. You can see the die set comes with all of these different little inserts with woods that you can put within the windows. I'm not going to be using those inserts for this particular layout. I'm just going to be using the window. So I'm cutting it out twice in this wood grain paper from Simple Stories. I do one on camera, and then you're going to see in a moment I cut the other one off screen. But it cuts out very, very nicely, and there you have it. I have 2 of them there. I also cut out off camera a white block of paper, and I'm going to be placing these 2 window panes on top of it. And the strip of paper in the middle, they're overlapped. So it's like I'm creating one giant window. But if you don't have this die, you can create a window simply by cutting out 1/4-inch strips of paper. And that's what I'm showing you right now. I'm not going to do the whole window for you here, but I just wanted to give you the idea. You can do the very same thing with 1/4-inch strips of paper. So now what I'm going to do is cut out another block of paper. This is going to be in the pink, and I'm going to be layering it up underneath that white cardstock paper. So this one measures 1/2 inch larger than that white block. I will put measurements for what I'm doing on the screen. Once I get this down, I'm going to be placing the photos just to give you an idea where I'm going with this. Now I have 2 photos, and really they don't make sense on the other side of the window. One is my husband outside digging out the barbecue, and the other one is of candles inside our house. That doesn't matter. It's all part of the story. Really, what's going to be obvious is my focal point photo, and you're going to see that later on. Also, the number of photos doesn't really matter here. You need your focal point photo, and the other thing I'm going to do is the left-hand side of the window, I want to fill it in with photos. I'm going to be using 2. I could use 6 small ones. I could use 1 big one. It doesn't matter. What I want is just to fill in the side of the window that is the opposite side of the curtain. And in my case, the curtain and the focal point photo is going to be on the right. I'm making little pencil marks within those blocks in the window. You saw me do that a minute ago. That was simply a guide so that I knew where to place my photos, where to adhere my photos. So you can see there that 4 top blocks are filled in with a 3.5 by 5 photo. What I'm thinking about here when I'm filling in that side of the window with photos is that within each one of those panes, I want there to be a full photo. So for example, the 4 top blocks is filled in with 1 photo. The bottom 2 blocks are filled in with a photo. I don't want a block to have half a photo, if that makes any sense at all. Basically, where you see where it's white is going to be covered up with a focal point photo and a curtain. But the full panes that are visible, I want there to be a full photo in there. Also, when I am placing my photos, I am making sure that nothing super important is being covered up by the wooden slats in the window. For example, my husband's face is not covered up, or the pot of pasta that's on the burner on the barbecue is not covered up. That's important to my story. So I'm aware of that when I'm placing the photo. What I'm showing you right now is a curtain template that I made about a month ago, because I did this page design about a month ago with other paper and photos, of course. And what I did was, I'm showing you how I created my curtain. Basically, I put a piece of copy paper on top of my window, and with pencil, I drew myself a curtain, just like I did right there. Then I cut out the curtain, and then what I did was I traced that curtain onto a piece of cardboard. I used just a piece of scrap cardboard that came from a collection of pages from, I don't know, Creative Memories or something like that. And then I cut it out because it's easier to trace and it's more substantial when it's on cardboard. And just a moment ago, I showed you a handful of other templates that I have made throughout the years and used over and over again. So it's really just a cheap tool and free tool, actually. What you saw me do right there is trace that curtain template on the back side of the paper that I plan to use for my curtain. So the floral side, the other side, is going to be my curtain. So I traced that, cut it out, and now what you see me doing is I had made a second template, which is just the bottom half of the curtain. So I traced that second template, the same thing, on the back of that floral paper, and I cut that out twice. And you're going to see when I place it to the page, it's basically going to be like a flowing curtain at the bottom. I'm showing you there that I backed all of my curtain pieces with scrap cardstock because I do plan to pop some of it up on foam adhesive, and I just wanted the paper weight to be a little bit more substantial. So you can see how I'm placing my curtain there. I've got the curtain there and then 2 extra flaps at the bottom, kind of placed on an angle. I also, a moment ago, inked all the edges of that curtain as well. So I also am going to double mat that focal point photo. I'm going to do that in a minute. So now I'm adhering the photo down to the page, and you're going to see how I adhere those flaps at the bottom. One of them is going to go kind of underneath, a little bit on an angle, and the other one is going to go on top, again at an angle. There's another thing I want to point out. My window isn't perfectly square, so when I adhered the window with the white and pink mats to the page, I made sure that the distance from the window and those layers to the edge was equal on the top and on the bottom and on the left side of the page. On the right side, it was a bit wider, but I'm not worried about it because you're going to see that's where the curtain is, along with my main embellishment cluster will go there. I just added a little bit of foam adhesive underneath the flaps of those curtains as well as at the top. And you'll see that better in the still shots at the end. It just gave a little bit of flow and dimension to this curtain. Now I'm going to embellish. So you saw there I had 2 floral ephemera pieces, both from the Market Square collection. So what I'm going to do though is beef those up with die cuts using tools from my stash. So I have 2 sets here. The one with the flowers is from Elizabeth Craft Designs. It's one of her floral collections. Again, I'll put it in the description box below, but I'm going to be using the leaves from that. So I'm going to cut them out in 2 different greens. That cardstock is from Simple Stories. And so I'm going to cut those out. I found that those leaves looked a lot like the leaves in that floral paper. That's why I selected it. And then what I will do is, you can see another die set there just above it. And that one there is from the October 2021 Hip Kit Club collection. So basically I'm using the sprig die from that, and I'm cutting it out with this paper. It's a floral print paper from the Market Square collection, but you won't really look like a floral print once it's cut out. It's quite fine and detailed. So I cut out a bunch of those as well. And you're going to see I stopped the camera and I cut out a bunch more. So I have a bunch of leaves as well as sprigs. But before I continue, now what I want to do is create a little paper bow. This is a punch, an old retired one from Stampin' Up, called a bow builder punch. So basically what you do is you punch it out twice, and it gives you enough pieces to create a little bow. So I'm going to assemble the bow right now. So I have two bow loops, I guess you would call them. So I'm adhering the two ends together so it creates one of the loops, and I'm going to do that with the second one. Then I'm going to take both of these loops and adhere them together, adhere the middle parts together. And I'm using glue dots for this because I find that it just holds better. The pieces that you have to adhere are so tiny. If I used my regular adhesive, it would just pop open. Now what I'm doing is covering up the middle with another piece that's part of this punch, again using glue dots. And then I have two of the bow strings that kind of hang down. I'm just going to adhere those behind the bow, and I have a nice little paper bow. So that's kind of fun to put on top of a curtain where it joins kind of like to the wall. Obviously, if you don't have a bow builder punch, you could even use a piece of ribbon here. It would look super, super cute. So there you have it, my little paper bow. I've got my leaves, my sprigs, my floral ephemera, but what I'm missing is a title. So for a title, I decided to dig into my stamps, and that's what I'm getting out now. I have a stamp set that came with a Scrapbook and Cards Today delivered kit a few years ago, a winter collection, and I'm using the stamp set that says, "Baby, it's cold outside." Now for a page like this, I don't want a huge title, but obviously I want my title to have an impact. So stamps are a great option for this because I can get a lot of words in a small space. What you see me doing right now is, in the same stamp set, there was a snowflake stamp. So with pink ink, I just simply stamped on a snowflake on top of it to add a bit of color, and also to add a little bit of thematic embellishment to my page, because right now everything is kind of warm and cozy inside, but this is really about an ice storm that caused us to lose power. What I did with the title is I cut it out with a die set from Stampin' Up called Stitched Shapes. So I used the square die from that. And what I did off camera is I cut out a second square, a little bit bigger, in wood grain paper. So you can see I have my title there, "Baby, It's Cold Outside," and now I'm creating an embellishment cluster around it, starting with those floral ephemera pieces. Then I tucked in the green leaves, then I'm coming in with the sprigs, and then I added the bow. So I have one nice embellishment cluster that encompasses my title. And again, for me to have a title with that many words, "Baby, It's Cold Outside," if I had used either die cut alphas or even alpha stickers to have an impact, it probably would have taken up half my page. So that's why stamps are a great option for that, as well as actually beefing them up with die cuts from your stash. So you can see I'm adhering everything down exactly where I had placed them, and I'm basically done here. All I'm going to do is come in and add a little bit of foam adhesive underneath the tips of each one of those leaves. Now what I am missing on this layout is my journaling, and that's because I plan to do it on the complimentary page, which you will see probably in the layout share at the end of the month. But if you were to do this as a single page, what I would recommend for journaling is to go around one of the squares, either around the wood grain paper, around the full outer edge, or maybe around the window, around the white paper that goes around the window, or the pink paper. Other options would be writing inside one of those window panes, or in an empty space in a photo, or even on the curtain. But if it were me, with this type of design, I would probably go around one of the outer edges of the squares that are on this layout. So that is it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this layout. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to check out the other ladies. Their links are listed below. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.